Once upon a time, there lived a couple in the city of Enugu called Mr. and Mrs. Adisa. Mr. and Mrs. Adisa had been a very happy couple who used to live in the city. But after Mr. Adisa lost his job, they were forced to move back to the village. Adisa's wife, Lami, loves praying and would ask her husband to join her, but he would ridicule her, saying he had no burden or reason to pray, and the only time he needed God to sustain his job, he didn't, so why should he pray to him now? Mr. Adisa believed he had no reason to pray because he was living a peaceful and problem-free life, but he never knew what was to come until one night. The door rattled so hard it sounded like it would come off its hinges. Adisa woke up, startled, sitting up in the small bed he shared with his wife. His heart pounded in his chest as he squinted at the door. It was the middle of the night, and everything outside was silent. No wind, no crickets, just the deep, unsettling quiet. Beside him, Lami was not in bed. She was kneeling on a mat in the corner, her head bowed in prayer as usual. Her whispered words filled the room, soft but steady. Adisa swung his leg off the bed, frustrated and unnerved. "Lami," he whispered harshly, "what are you doing? Come back to bed." She didn't answer him. Her lips moved faster, her voice barely above a whisper. He couldn't make out the words, but he knew what she was doing. She was praying again. She did this every night without failing, and every night Adisa would tell her it was a waste of time. "Nothing happens here, Lami," he had said 1,000 times. "We live in peace. Stop worrying about shadows and spirits." But tonight, the shadows felt different. The rattling door made his skin crawl. Adisa stood and moved towards it, his feet bare, cold on the dirt floor. He hesitated, his hand hovering over the latch. The door shook again, harder this time. "Adisa!" Lami's voice stopped him. It was louder now, urgent. "Don't open it." He turned to her, frowning. "What if it's someone who needs help? A traveler?" She shook her head, her eyes wide with fear. "It's not someone. It's something. Please, Adisa, don't open the door. Just pray with me." Adisa sighed, frustrated. He had always believed in practical solutions, not in things he couldn't see or touch. But before he could say anything, the door burst open with a deafening crack. The room seemed to freeze. In the doorway stood a figure unlike anything Adisa had ever seen. It was tall and hunched, its face obscured by a tattered hood. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and its hand clutched a long staff that pulsed with an airy green light. The figure stepped inside, the sound of its breathing deep and unnatural. Adisa backed away, his mouth dry. Who are you? He managed to ask, though his voice trembled. The figure's voice was low and grating, each word like a weight pressing on Adisa's chest. You take back from the land, but give nothing in return. You think you can live here without paying the price? What are you talking about? Adisa stammered. We've done nothing wrong. The figure didn't respond. It raised its staff, and a dark mist began swirling at its tip, spreading through the room like smoke. The air grew heavy, and Adisa felt like he couldn't breathe. Behind him, Lami's voice grew louder. She was still on her knees, her hands clasped tightly. Father, protect this home. Surround us with your light. Do not let any harm come to us. The mist in the room thickened, curling like a living thing. Adisa wanted to grab Lami and run, but his legs wouldn't move. The figure stepped closer, raising its staff higher. Then, just as the mist was about to engulf them, a blinding light filled the room. It was so bright, Adisa had to shield his eyes. The mist hissed and dissolved, and the figure stumbled backward, its glowing eyes wide with fear. A deep, calm voice echoed in the room. This family is under my protection. Leave now and never return. The figure let out a piercing shriek and turned, stumbling out of the house. The light grew even brighter for a moment, then slowly faded, leaving the room quiet once more. Adisa fell to his knees immediately behind Lami, his whole body trembling. Was that God? He whispered, his voice hoarse. Lami nodded, tears streaming down her face. He heard my prayers, Adisa. He protected us. Adisa looked at her, his chest tight with guilt and awe. I should have listened to you, he said softly. I've been so blind. And from that night on, Adisa changed. He began to join Lami in prayer every evening, kneeling beside her on the mat. Together, they prayed not just for protection, but for gratitude and strength. Word of the witches' attack spread through the village, but no one dared to approach their home again. Neighbors whispered that it was Lami's prayer that had saved them, and this time around, Adisa no longer dismissed their words, but even confirmed it to be true, sharing the good news that happened to him and his family. Their small home continued to be a place of peace and faith, untouched by darkness, and Adisa, who was once a doubting Thomas, became the loudest voice when praying and thanking God. Thank you for watching this amazing story. If you enjoyed the video, please do well to leave a like and a comment of the lesson you learned from this video. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you can get notified when we update more of these amazing folktales and story. Until next time, bye.